All right, welcome back into Fox 13 Live Desk. We told you a short while ago we'd be getting to that Seattle Mariners coverage, but coming into our newsroom right now, we are getting live images from the trial in Snohomish-County after Trooper Christopher Gadd was hit and killed. The man convicted, Raul Benitez-Santana, is on your screen right now. Victim impact statements are being read, and Trooper Gadd's wife became so choked up she had to leave, and they've just restarted with a family friend reading that victim impact statement. Let's listen in live together.
Be a kiss in heaven. Living and processing my own grief is painful enough. Helping her with it is heartbreaking. As my daughter grows and develops her grief, trauma, and understanding of what happened and what was taken from her also increases. Through her life, I have to walk her through those new layers. The memories she will have of her dad now rely on pictures, videos, and stories told and shown to her by those who knew and loved Chris. He will never be at her soccer games or dance recitals or choir concerts. He can't teach her to drive. He won't be there to see her graduate high school or go to college. He won't be there to walk her down the aisle when she gets married. She will live the rest of her life without her dad. I wish my daughter and I could still have Chris, but I get some comfort knowing that if Chris didn't stop this drunk driver, it would have been another family going through this unbearable pain. In the moments before Chris's death, he was parked on the shoulder with his radar on, waiting for an impaired driver. Chris was passionate about removing dangerous drivers from the road before they hurt themselves and people around them. I have sat through every court date, the probable cause hearing, bail hearings, omnibus, and countless motions. I was here every day of trial while I sat here listening and seeing things that no loved one should ever witness. Raul Santana, the man who killed my husband, never showed any remorse or regret for his actions. My husband's death was not just some unfortunate accident. Raul made the decision to drive a vehicle after consuming multiple alcoholic beverages and smoking marijuana after his alcohol consumption. Raul could have ordered a ride, called a friend or family member. He could have slept in his car for the night. But he made the reckless and incredibly dangerous choice to get behind the wheel and risk the lives of every driver around him. This is not the first time that Raul has exhibited dangerous behavior. He has clearly demonstrated a pattern of reckless action inside and outside the vehicle. Chris did his job that night. He got one more dangerous driver off the road. He lost his life doing it. Please hold Raul responsible for his actions, and please keep everyone on the road safer for longer and pass down the maximum sentence. Respectfully, Cameron Gadd.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Jillian Gadd, spelled G-I-L-L-I-A-N, last name G-A-D-D. I'm going to read this, hopefully. Dear Honorable Judge Moore, my name is Jillian Gadd. I am Trooper Christopher Gadd's mother. I am writing our family statement as my husband and daughter still wear a uniform. Leading up to this case and throughout this process, the word fair, or the notion of fairness, has been at the forefront. I would like to address that word, its meaning, and its relevance in your decision-making process. First and foremost, I believe in our legal system. It's the best example of fairness there is. I expect nothing more and nothing less from this court than to operate honorably within the confines of our state's constitution and our country's constitution. The word fair is defined by Webster as marked by impartiality and honesty, free from self-interest, prejudice, or favoritism, conforming with the established rules, consonant with merit or importance, open to legitimate pursuit, attack, or ridicule. It has been more than fair that a person who has been enjoying the freedoms of this country has had multiple charges dropped or lessened It has been more than fair that the established rules have been altered to allow him to change his ways and better himself, or change his lifestyle. He hasn't done so. At some point, we must all face the consequences of our actions. Mr. Benitez-Santana has not acted with impartiality or honesty. He is not free from self-interest or favoritism. He's asking this court to overlook his behavior, to mitigate the severity of his actions. He's enjoying the freedoms of this state and country without conforming to the established rules. It is a flagrant disregard for all that is good and all that our civilized society is built upon. His actions and behaviors cannot be overlooked. Allowing him to remain in general society poses a threat to all people of Washington state. Mr. Benitez-Santana isn't a victim in this case, as the defense team would have the court believe. He's a victim of his own selfish, misguided behavior. When all the details and science are stripped away, he was the driver of a vehicle that caused an accident that killed our son. He has destroyed our life, his own life, and his family's lives. Can we please care enough to keep him incarcerated? The truth about this whole story is it could have been anyone on that roadside. A mother caring for her family, an elderly person stranded on a rainy night. But it wasn't. It was our son, our granddaughter's father, our daughter-in-law's husband, Cameron's life partner, closest friend, and confidant. He was the hedge of protection for their family, an anchor in their lives. Their provider, their hero, their biggest fan. Our granddaughter will grow up without a father. She will grow up without experiencing the full depth and breadth of how fiercely he loved her. She will only know what we tell her. It's a fraction of what she deserves. No little one should ever confront or process what she faces so bravely every day. Christopher was our daughter's only brother. She now bears the weight of being an only child, and all that comes with that. A bright, beautiful woman who won't have her brother at her wedding or any other major life event. She is robbed of all the brotherly advice he would have given her. Siblings profoundly shape who we are, and Jacqueline has been robbed of that continued influence, guidance, love, and love as a faithful friend and mother. Siblings shape who we become as adults, and I'm profoundly grateful that Jackie had 23 years with Christopher's love and support. She deserves a lifetime with Chris pouring wisdom and love into her world. It's been cruelly taken from her. All of this was avoidable. The only defense at the beginning of this nightmare was that this wouldn't have happened if Chris wasn't there. The same could be said about Mr. Benitez-Santana. He chose to consume depressants, to get behind the wheel of a car. He chose to drive recklessly. He is the one who killed Christopher. No one else is responsible for this accident. His behavior is not excusable. Victim shaming is the absolute lowest form of defense our court system has to offer. Chris, to the best of his ability, lived his life with impartiality and honesty, mostly free from self-interest, prejudice, and favoritism. He lived by the established rules. He lived in consonant or agreement or harmony with merit and importance. When he became a trooper, he knew he was open to ridicule and attack. He wore the badge in spite of being fair game. It was an honor to him. He was introspective and always striving to be better. He was gentle and kind. He was fairness itself. He was slow to anger and quick to contemplate his own actions, always seeking to be a better person. Christopher's co-workers, leadership, the deputies, the police officers, the fire on that crash scene, all bear the burden of his loss. as do the brave citizens who stopped to do the right things. Memories that cannot be erased, the bonds of brotherhood broken in this physical world. My husband and I now live a life minus the beloved child. The next natural leader of our branch of the Gadd family, a hole ripped through our hearts that can never heal. Mr. Santana's actions killed the best son anyone could ever ask for. There are no words to accurately describe the loss that we feel. Part of our being is lost, and there's no way to recover it. Christopher doesn't get a redo or a second chance, and I thank God he lived with honor and pursued all good things. The defendant has had second chances. He's proven through behavior and accusations, this wouldn't have happened if Chris wasn't on the roadside, that he has no intention of changing his ways or taking responsibility for his choices, actions, and behaviors. It's the worst kind of human extravagance. So I ask this court, will you please exercise a fair and just sentence of the max penalty? It's the only reasonable and fair outcome from this terrible tragedy. Our granddaughter, Cameron, Jackie, David, and I, our WSP family, Chris's myriad of extended family members, all first responders and the citizens of Washington State deserve nothing less. To Mr. Benitez-Santana's parents, please accept my deepest regrets and sadness that our lives have crossed paths in such a way. I will continue to pray for you as you try to put your lives back together in the years to come. To his mother, just like I could never fathom the end of my child's life being so soon, I can't imagine the day you held your precious child and imagine that this would be his life story. I am so sorry that we both bear a burden that only a mother could bear, but for very different reasons. Mr. Benitez-Santana, please let this be. Don't let this be the end of your story. You can live a different life. Seek to lift people up. Honor your family with a life that's changed. Find a way to destroy the things that destroy you. Find strength to discover your real purpose in living. I speak to this court and all assembled with two halves of my being. One half is a mother of two troopers and a spouse to the other. That half of me cannot look past your selfish ways that led to the death of my child. The other half of me is a God-fearing woman who has a duty and is called to forgive you, as I have also been forgiven. Not to free you, but to free myself from a burden I was never meant to carry. May God help me as I carry these two halves of myself. I pray earnestly that God will have mercy on you and forgive you for what you've done. Respectfully, Jillian Gadd.
Thank you, Ms. Gannon.
Again, you are listening live to the victim impact statements when talking about Trooper Gadd and his death. Just some fast facts for those of you, if you've been reading these, we've been following along. Raul Benitez-Santana previously found guilty of the car crash that killed Washington State Trooper Christopher Gadd in March of 2024. Benitez-Santana was convicted of vehicular homicide and vehicular assault just last month. According to court documents, he had topped 100 miles per hour while under the influence. We'll send you back to that coverage unfolding inside the courtroom.
That some believe that Raul is not remorseful, and I want to absolutely refute that. The way our system is set up, if someone is represented, they are not given opportunities outside a platform like today to express their remorse. At trial testimony, which was Raul's right, this type of information would have not been admissible. Today is the first opportunity that the defense bar has to express how someone has been feeling about a case that is as tragic as this one. Raul is kind, Raul is thoughtful, Raul is caring. Ms. Mecca and I have seen him go through all the stages of emotion in processing not just what has happened to him and his family because of this, but the significance of that night on Trooper Gadd's family. If there's any takeaway from the defense presentation today, it should be that Raul very much cares. Due to how the appeal process works, it is unfortunate but necessary that Ms. Mecca and I have strongly advised Raul that he cannot speak today. Should there be another hearing where Mr. Benitez-Santana's guilt is in question, any statement that he makes on the record to this court is potentially admissible. And although unfortunate, that is just a necessary part of our legal system. We have also advised Raul throughout this trial and all of the hearings that have taken place that he try as much as he can not to express emotion. Every nod, every facial expression is scrutinized by jurors, by the media, by community members that we work with, and can be reframed or argued as insincere. But Raul's stoicism throughout this process has not simply been because of advice of counsel. After many conversations with Raul's family and people close to Raul, it is clear that the gravity of this situation and what has happened to Trooper Gadd's family does weigh on him, and it has affected not only his personality but also his presentation. Raul speaks to his family every single day. He loves his family deeply. His children are his whole life. Until last year, when Raul moved to Everett, Washington, he had lived in Burien, Washington since he was 6 months old. He has been a productive community member of Washington State nearly as long as he has been alive. When Raul was 16, he learned something about his identity that changed what opportunities would be available to him and how he would be seen amongst his community members and amongst other members of Washington State. Raul had some troubles in school as a result of that, but he returned, and when he was just 18 years old, he had his first baby. Raul stepped up. He became a loving father. He worked as much as he possibly could at his family's auto body shop to support his child. He has been working since the age of 15 and has healthy and loving relationships with his family and those close to him. Raul now has 2 children, and in jail he has attempted to do as much as he possibly can to mitigate both the impact that he has had in what he can control at this point. And that includes completing multiple parenting classes. He completed parenting classes on the subjects of self-awareness and self-management, supporting social awareness and interpersonal skills, growth and development of preschoolers, children's temperament, practical approaches to meeting individual needs, and exploring developmental needs and characteristics of different age groups. Raul took just about every course that was available to him in the Snohomish-County Jail, including safe vehicle operation, guides to drug and alcohol abuse. He took an anger management course, even though he does not have an anger management problem, and managing stress. Raul is absolutely remorseful of what has happened. And the very nature of the vehicular homicide case is that it is not intentional. This is not an intentional homicide. due to the numerous letters that have been submitted in support of Raul, not simply because Raul's family doesn't want him to be punished, doesn't want him in custody, but as a testament to his character as a giving and kind and loving person, and his attempts to take courses not only in the jail, but his intentions to do everything he can while in Department of Corrections, custody and supervision to make sure that something like this never happens again. We do believe that 95 months is appropriate. It is a fact that he has no felony history that would give him points. Raul has 2 points, both of which are as a result of these convictions that we're talking about today. Raul agrees to a drug and alcohol assessment. He agrees to follow the recommendations of the assessment. He agrees to total abstinence from alcohol, total abstinence from drugs. We agree to no driving without valid license and insurance. There is a Department of Licensing process that he would have to go through to determine what is appropriate in regards to his licensing. That system already exists. There is the infrastructure to make those determinations while Department of Corrections is supervising Mr. Benitez-Santana. I'm happy to answer any questions. We would also ask to schedule a date for the restitution hearing. The state and I, and Ms. Mecca, did agree to set that hearing over. We had a conversation just today with Mr. Benitez-Santana. He does waive his presence for a restitution hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for the record, I'm just going to confirm, Mr. Benitez-Santana, you do not wish to exercise your right of allocation on the advice of counsel. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right. Before I begin, I just want to make a statement to Mrs. Gadd, both Mrs. Gadd's, Trooper Gadd's family, and that includes his WSP family. The pain that you all feel and have felt and the loss that you have experienced is clear. It was palpable in the courtroom during the trial, and it is palpable today. If I had the power to turn back time to change what occurred on March 6, 2024, I would do it. I believe, even though the defendant's attorney's arguments may have fallen short of communicating, he would probably do it as well. But I can't. I can't do that. And no sentence that I impose will ever be enough to fill that your best friend used to fill. The best that I can offer is an ending to this trial and to the days that you will spend in a courtroom, waiting and wondering, and the anxiety that that brings. Days that I hope that you can now spend with your daughter and your granddaughter and the rest of your family, remembering all of the wonderful things about Trooper Gadd and finding a pathway forward out of your grief. The defendant has been convicted following trial of vehicular homicide, which is a Class A felony, and vehicular assault, which is a Class B felony. The jury also found the defendant was impaired. That leads to the standard range sentence as outlined by the state. With regard to vehicular homicide, it's a level 11 offense, and with his offender score of 2, the standard range sentence is 95 to 125 months. With regard to the vehicular assault, it's a level 4 offense, and with an offender score of 2, it results in a standard range sentence of 12 plus to 14 months. That's the standard ranges that have been set forth by our legislature. And also because these both are current offenses, these sentences will run concurrent to each other. In the defense sentencing memorandum, there's one thing I agree with, and that is that I agree the purposes of the Sentencing Reform Act was enacted to ensure a balance, to ensure that sentencing is proportionate to the seriousness of the offense and the offender's criminal history, to promote respect for the law, to provide a just punishment, to protect the public, and to offer offenders the opportunity for rehabilitation and reintegration. In the sentencing memorandum, the defense argued that I should impose a low-range sentence based upon the impact of the defendant's incarceration on his children, his limited criminal history, and his ability to engage in self-reflection and change, as evidenced by the classes he's taken. And I acknowledge that you have availed yourself of many classes while you've been incarcerated. And that speaks positively to me with regard to your ability to change and your ability to recognize the things you need to do in order to move forward and pass this event. I have great, frankly, an expectation that you will continue to avail yourself of whatever classes and programming and opportunities are available during your time in confinement. I struggle with the other arguments. While there isn't any felony criminal history, there is repeated criminal history, and the fact that the defendant was on a deferred prosecution at the time of this particular offense is important, particularly in light of the idea of promoting respect for the law. It's not unreasonable for this court to know or believe that the terms of that deferred prosecution required him not to commit any new crimes. Driving while impaired is a crime. So the defendant was willing to violate the terms of his deferred prosecution when he chose to drive home. So you were willing to put your family's stability at risk. And let's talk about that. It's troubling to me to hear an argument that that I should consider the impact of a long incarceration on your children. Because what about Trooper Gadd's child? The sentencing memorandum asks for a low-end sentence in order to return the defendant to his role as a father and provider as soon as reasonably possible. Trooper Gadd will never be able to do that. He will never be able to return to that role. So I find the argument offensive and insensitive. I understand defense counsel has a job to do in advocating for your client, but I caution you to think about the approach that you do that with. Regardless of how I feel about that argument, it's the facts of this case that drive terrible choice of words. It's the facts of this case that require the high-end sentence. Anything less does not begin to address the seriousness of this particular offense and of the facts of this case. No vehicular homicide could ever be labeled as standard. But let's face it, this is not a situation where someone was 2 miles from their home and ran into someone. You were traveling at over 100 miles an hour for a length of time. You endangered everyone on the roadway, from Mount Vernon to Everett. I've driven that a million times. I used to practice up there. I know that stretch of road. You endangered the truck driver by passing him at that speed. You endangered the people that came along after. Thank God they were able to make it through that massive debris field without getting into an accident themselves. And then Mr. Lennon wasn't that lucky, and thank God all of his passengers were uninjured. I know you didn't go on a date thinking that you were later going to kill someone. And that is the difference in the ranges in this type of an offense, because it's not, the intentionality of it is different from somebody pointing a gun at someone and pulling the trigger. But the outcome is the same. Someone dies. And the facts of this case and the criminal history, even though it's misdemeanor offenses, show that a high-end sentence is justified, because it seems like that thought of caring about the risk that you put everyone on the road just wasn't even present. And the risk you took resulted in life-changing consequences for Trooper Gadd's family. And I'm sure it resulted in life-changing consequences for your family as well. But the purposes of the Sentencing Reform Act would not be fulfilled if I imposed a low-range sentence. The public needs to know that driving like that is unacceptable, period. Young people who drive and speed need to know that it is no different from having a loaded gun. It is a responsibility. So I am imposing the sentence of 125 months for count 1, 14 plus months for count 2. Those will run concurrently to each other. I will impose the 18 months of community custody on count 1. The conditions of that community custody will be that you will complete a substance use disorder evaluation and complete any recommended treatment, that you not consume any alcohol of any kind and no drugs of any kind during that period of 18 months. I am going to impose the condition that you not drive unless validly licensed and insured. The state has withdrawn its request to have me impose any of the legal financial obligations. I'll accept that withdrawal, so there will not be any legal financial obligations. I'll reserve the issue of restitution for 180 days, and we can set a restitution hearing to address that. And I thank you for waiving your presence at signing or that hearing. As a result of this conviction, you will no longer be able to have, use, possess, or own a firearm. You have 30 days from today's date to appeal this conviction. If you don't appeal the conviction within 30 days, you will forever lose that right. Ms. Mecca and Ms. Hancock, you can present any orders that you need for me with regard to an appeal. You have 180 days from today's date to collaterally attack this sentence. The last thing I just want to say is, I do believe that you're sorry, for what that's worth. And I think it is exceptionally gracious that the family is willing to walk out of here and without hatred in their hearts. So do your time. Focus on the things to make things right to the extent you can. I believe that your one witness statement I had it marked. Just a minute. From Casta Reyes. And I apologize, I don't know if that's a man or a woman. But this person writes, I firmly believe that there is a chance for Raul to find a path towards redemption and restoration. The values and lessons instilled in him by his family remain a part of who he is. Given the opportunity, I have hope that Raul can rise to that challenge, make amends in whatever ways he can, and contribute positively to society. You have that opportunity. And I sincerely hope that you won't make this your life story.
Your Honor, before you step off the bench,
So there you have it. The man that hit and killed Washington State Patrol Trooper Christopher Gadd, just sentenced to 125 months in prison. If you've been following along with this story, it is yet another tragic story. I know we were just talking about Brian Kohberger and him putting in a plea deal a short time ago, but this is a story, a young father. His wife so choked up that she couldn't get through her victim impact statement today. Somebody else actually went in there and had to finish that language for them. If you've been watching along, you may have noticed we were shooting some people from the waist down. That is because the judge, per request of the family, didn't want to show folks from the family, so we were adhering to those standards there. But we just got that new information. Found guilty of both vehicular homicide and vehicular assault previously. The sentencing today handed down 125 months. You may have heard there was another charge with that vehicular assault for 14 plus months. The situation with that is these are being served concurrently, meaning that they are served in parallel, so that 14 months is being served at the same time as he's serving the 125 months. However, once that prison sentence has wrapped up, Raul Benitez-Santana will then have to go into 18 months of community custody, where the judge said he will be required to do substance abuse disorder training, which also means no drugs or alcohol for him for 18 months. Remember, he is accused, or admitted, I should say, to drinking and smoking weed before he got behind the wheel that night, driving over 100 miles an hour and ultimately hitting and killing Trooper Gadd. He will also serve a period of time where he's not allowed to drive as well for obvious reasons here. Again, Raul Benitez-Santana sentenced to 125 months behind bars after that March 2024 crash that took the life of Trooper Christopher Gadd. Just a hard situation, as we heard from both the wife and the mother of Gadd speaking in court. And you heard those strong words coming from the judge, really rebuking the idea that they argued for a lesser sentence over the idea that it would be beneficial to Benitez-Santana's family for him to get back to his two young children and be a father. She said that is something that he took away from the Gadd family. The Gadd family will never have a chance to have him back in their lives the way that Raul Benitez-Santana was discussing. So they could have done a lighter sentence, but the judge making it clear the public needed to know it is unacceptable to do what Raul Benitez-Santana did. If you've been following along, we wanted to make sure that everybody saw those fast facts information on this hearing as it came in. We've been sharing that on the screen at times because we couldn't show you the other family members from the Gadd family at the request of the judge there. But previously found guilty, Raul Benitez-Santana, we now know 125 months behind bars for him. He had admitted to smoking and drinking before the deadly crash, topping 100 miles per hour. If I remember right, in the court documents, we had learned he was going roughly 107 miles per hour when he hit and killed Trooper Gadd. You may have noticed there was some conversation about his past history. There's been a lot of debate about whether or not Benitez-Santana should even be in there, or do they try to toss out some of these charges because of his status? This kind of getting tied up with the Trump immigration stuff, but bottom line, Benitez-Santana did not have legal status here in the U.S. He had entered the United States illegally prior to this incident where he struck and killed Gadd. And again, I just have there on the bottom of your screen that note that the Gadd family members' faces were not shown. We just kind of want to let our viewers know that that's why you were looking exclusively at Raul Benitez-Santana, even though other people were talking. We weren't doing that out of any disrespect to the family, really quite the opposite. We wanted to respect their wishes and not show their faces as we saw all of this come to fruition. So just a tragic day, obviously very difficult for a number of families throughout our viewing area. Earlier today, we were talking about the 4 victims of Brian Kohberger after he entered his guilty plea. Today, now, the sentencing for the man who hit and killed Washington State Patrol Trooper Christopher Gadd. We will continue to track both of these stories throughout the day and on Seattle News Tonight. Don't want to let you guys forget that we always cover the news as it comes into the newsroom right here at the live desk. You don't have to wait around for traditional newscasts. We are here guiding you through all the information as it comes into our newsroom, unlike anybody else in the market or in our viewing area.